It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. On the program today, my friends, we are featuring another one of our guest DJ winners. And today, our guest DJ Fran has selected Astronomy from Blue Oyster Cult. Now, I am only aware of one song by Blue Oyster Cult, and that is the one that is made famous by the use of cowbell. Don't fear the Reaper, right? So I am eager to dive into another one of their classic tunes and see what else makes this band tick. And at Fran's urging, we're going to take a look at two different versions of Astronomy by Blue Oyster Cult. First, we're going to take a look at the original version, which comes from their 1974 album, Secret Treaties. And then we're going to move to their version that is included on Imaginos, which is their 11th album, released all the way in 1988. So 14 years difference for these two versions of Astronomy. And I gotta say, y'all, as I was reading in on this, it was a much more convoluted and big backstory to this band and to this song and to the themes and story that it's based on than I realized. And I'm going to try to make sense of it with you today. So the song's lyrics are by Sandy Pearlman, who was the band's longtime producer. And Sandy wrote lyrics for many of their tunes. Sandy had created this concept and character called Imaginos in a collection of poems that he called the Soft Doctrines of Imaginos in the mid-60s while he was still a student. And his writing combined a lot of cultural references with some Gothic literature and some science fiction. And in fact, the name of the band, Blue Oyster Cult, comes from Sandy's Imaginos story. And fragments of this story are scattered kind of out of context throughout their early songs. And by the time we get to Astronomy on the third album that they put out here in 1974, it's wholly dedicated to this particular plot. And so they keep working on kind of weaving this story into the band's ethos and into their songs. And so let's take a look at the original version first. So we've got Eric Bloom on vocals, rhythm guitar, and keyboards. Donald Buck Dharma Rozier is on lead guitar. Alan Lanier is on keyboards and rhythm guitar and synths. Joe Bouchard is on bass and vocals, and Albert Bouchard is on drums and vocals. So let's take a look at the original studio version here. Here is Astronomy from Blue Oyster Cult. Here we go. Okay. It sounds like E minor. Love the piano in it.
Clock strikes 12 and moon drops burst out at you from their hiding place. Like acid and oil out of madman's face, his reason tends to fly away. Like lesser birds on the four winds, like silver scripts in May.
There's a 5, 1,
most of you have gone away.
Lovely. I love the understated percussion too. And the syncopated, almost large triplet things that the piano is doing is really nice.
Let's take a walk just out there upon the beach. I know you'll soon be married, and you want to know where winds come from. Well, it's never said at all on the map that can read. Behind the clock back there, you know,
7,
at the
6. Back to 1. At the Four Winds Bar. Behind the clock back there, you know, at the Four Winds Bar. Okay. Top right. C, then back to D, then before you get to E. Pretty straightforward progression. The queenly flux, eternal light, or the light that never warms. So this is a restatement of verse 1. No, at least just the start of it, but it's a different verse. So he's realizing, the character, I think, is realizing who he is and what he can do or what his purpose is. The point of view of the lyrics is from this character, Imaginos. I like it. It strikes me as the type of song that could be used to spin a yarn, right? To tell a story. There's room for a lot of words. Or just a few. Astronomy, a star, is what he is singing. As to what they're going to do different with it, with the other version that we're going to listen to. They stayed in E the whole time. And the wind howls at the end. I believe, as I read it, that's the last track on the album. That's how that particular album ends, I think. Okay, so let's move on to the next version of this. I enjoyed that, Fran, quite a lot. So the next version of this, so Imaginos is not until 1988 that it gets released. So the release of this album had been many years in the making. Founding member Albert Bouchard had been sketching some ideas for this story since their first album in 1972. And Albert ended up leaving the band in 1981, and he had been working with Sandy on making Imaginos into a solo album. Since he wasn't with the band anymore. By the time we get to 1984, they had amassed 90 minutes of material, but Columbia Records rejected it because they didn't think it had much commercial appeal, and because Columbia was hoping that this could end up being another Blue Oyster Cult album instead of a solo album by Bouchard. And so it sat on a shelf for a few more years and was resurrected and finally issued in 1988 as a full Blue Oyster Cult album. Albert's original demo vocals were re-recorded, and all original members of the band were able to be credited as performing on the album, even though they have an absolute slew of musicians, too many to name, that had provided backing performances and performances for the demos and construction of it over the years. And then the final version of the album that got released is about 40 minutes shorter than the demo had been, and Perlman said that they just didn't have the funding to do the whole thing as he desired, and they ended up having to scramble the songs on the album. Apparently the record company was trying to do that to create a more commercially attractive product, and the music on this particular album is considered to be their heaviest sound. And so by the time we get here, Buck Dharma is singing the lead on this version instead of Eric Bloom. And I found something interesting too. I'm going to slip this in, y'all. Stephen King recorded a spoken word intro to the official video of this 1988 version, but in the video the song is like 2 minutes shorter than it is on the album. But I wanted to hear a little bit of Stephen King's intro, so here's what that looks like. Off we go.
Imaginos, a bedtime story for the children of the damned.
That sounds quite a bit different.
World paralleling our Earth in time and space, the invisible ones have sent an agent who will dream the dream of history. With limitless power, he becomes the greatest actor of the 19th century. Taking on many disguises, he places himself at pivotal junctures in history, continually altering its course and testing our ability to respond to the challenge of evil.
So he's able to change his appearance.
His name is
Imaginos. And I think that's the end of the narration. And this video doesn't have any of the band members included in it. I think it's just focused on the story. But yeah, so I'm going to go away from that. And so we don't hear too much of it. And I want to hear the actual album cut of that, because I don't think that they included Steven's voiceover on the actual track. So let's take a look at the full 1988 version from Imaginos. Here is Astronomy by Blue Oyster Cult. Off we go. Okay. Sounds like what we were just hearing. It's got the Iron Maiden Gallop in it. Makes sense, it's in E minor.
The clock strikes 12 and moon drops burst out at you from their hiding place. Like acid and oil on a madman's face, reason tends to fly away.
Same key as before.
Like lesser birds on the four winds.
Okay. 6 to 5.
Now the sands become a crook,
Flat 7.
and most of
6,
you
7,
have gone
1.
away.
So they haven't done much to reharmonize it. Same key, same melody, a little faster, maybe? The production of it sounds quite a bit different though, right? Harder drums. And you got that rhythm guitar. Right? Doing that in the background. A map that Carrie reads. I don't know who Carrie is. It's a different interpretation of the start of the chorus. Doors barred and windows barred. One door to let one door let to take you in. The other one just mirrors it. Interesting. Still think it needs more cowbell, right? Yeah, just straightforward stuff, just like they were doing before. I expected something heavier after reading in about all this. I expected a little more distortion in the sound or guitars or something that would really change the overall feel of this, but it's not that far different from the original version. It's rife, though, to make it heavier. The key that it's in, the fact that it's a straightforward 4/4, you're basically in E pentatonic minor the whole time. People have told me that there's also a Metallica cover of this that I have not yet heard either. I don't think we're going to listen to that today, but maybe sometime in the future. Curious to see what they do with it. Looking for a big solo in through here, and they're just not doing it. Definitely does sound like the 80s though, where the other one sounds like the 70s to me. Just the production of it just sounds like it's from a different era, right? Same band, same writers, 14 years difference. on in the backing tracks that just give it a lot of three-dimensionality to it. It just gives a little bit more oomph than the original version. I like the outro of the original version better than this. I wonder when they play this live, or when they would play this live, especially after this version is available, which one do they do? Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you, Fran, for that. I enjoyed the tune. I should have said a little bit more before I started. What the actual story is about. I read a lot about it, and here's a little bit of the synopsis. So, in short, Imaginos is a modified child or a mutant of some sort, born in New Hampshire in 1804, and there are 7 beings called Les Invisibles, or Les Invisible. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. They had been, I think, in cultural history, worshipped in Mexico and Haiti for several centuries. And these beings begin to seed superhuman abilities in Imaginos, and he begins to explore his abilities and later becomes an adventurer and explorer as he matures. And after a shipwreck where he, half dead, washes up on a shore, these beings, Les Invisibles, show themselves to Imaginos and reveal to him that they have been manipulating things behind the scenes to bring him to this point in time, and that he can either die now or as a regular human, or he can live on as sort of their servant on Earth. And he accepts the deal. And he is revived, and he's kind of inducted into this cult and given a new name called Desdenova, which means eternal light. That is referenced in the song. And then Imaginos then realizes that his powers come from the stars, where his masters are from. So there we get some extraterrestrials. And he is now aware of his unique role in the making of historical events. We also heard in Stephen King's intro that he can take on different appearances. He's a shapeshifter. And so he can now live as either a man or a woman, and he takes whatever name that he needs to based on how he's presenting himself. And he becomes this instrument of Les Invisible. And he later becomes even involved in the events leading up to the start of World War I, in sort of this alternate universe of a story. And it's quite fascinating to me. There are a few references to astronomy in this tune. The light that never warms, I believe, is meant to be the moon. The queenly flux, I think, is meant to be the constellation Cassiopeia. And then my dog, fixed and consequent, I believe, is the star Sirius, the dog star that hangs out in the constellation Orion. So that's as much as I could figure out about this particular song and its history and the band's history in one day in one read-in. If I got anything wrong, I am sure y'all will let me know what needs to be fixed, but I believe that is how this came to be. It's really fascinating that the producer, Sandy, had so much of this personality and writing to sort of spur the band on. And as I remember reading in, they would take like little snippets. They would have these books or pamphlets of just assorted writings of Sandy, and they would be, riffing and writing material, and they would come up with lines that from Sandy's writing that's like, yeah, this fits into this riff that we're doing. And so you get these out of context lines that might not make as much sense, but they all come from this backstory that is going on in Sandy's mind, and he's trying to get it done. They kind of get, one smaller version of, I think it was designed to be like a trilogy of double albums. when they were really wanting to do this, and they ended up doing one single album, and I don't think they ever did anything more with it, but that's what I was able to find out today. I like the tune, Fran, and I'm pleased to get to some Blue Oyster Cult finally on the channel, and I think we'll get into some more from these guys. They sound like they're a fascinating group, and I'm looking forward to it. But that's all for today, and I am thankful that y'all have been here for Astronomy, Two Different Ways by Blue Oyster Cult. Thanks to our guest DJ Fran for your support, and thanks to all of you for tuning in and for your continued support. We will see y'all next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.